Hi everybody, it's Diane Gale here from the blog sustainableslowliving.com, and it is a Sunday afternoon. It's been a little bit dreary outside. There's been some sun peeking through, but it's chilly, and the wind is really pretty powerful out there. So I decided to come into the kitchen. It's late afternoon, and I decided to make a steak fajita omelet for dinner. I have a poster in out for you, and I made one the other day to take pictures. It was delicious. I haven't made one in a while, so it was a treat, and I'm looking forward to another that I'm going to make today while I take you along and show you how. So the first thing that you're going to need if you're going to make a steak fajita omelet is fajita seasoning, and you can pick up fajita seasoning in just about any grocery store. It's very common. They all have it. If you can't find it in the regular spice section, look for your ethnic food section and you'll find it there. But I also included a bonus recipe at the end of this post for you, and that is for a really terrific fajita seasoning. The recipe that I use makes about twice as much, maybe even a little more than that, as I need for this steak fajita omelet recipe. So you can either cut it in half if you're excuse me, if you're just making one omelet, you can just cut it in half, or you can make the whole thing and save the other half for another time, which is what I do, because we do use it in enough dishes, and I make this omelet quite a little bit too. It's just been a while, but I used to make it a lot. I used to do breakfast a lot more. So anyway, the fajita seasoning recipe, pardon me, I'm going to have to read it. There's a lot of stuff in it. It's all you're going to do is take your ingredients and blend them together with a whisk. And it's 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, 4 teaspoons of chili powder, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of paprika, 2 teaspoons of white sugar, a teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of ground cumin, and half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And you're just going to put that all in a small bowl and blend it up with a whisk. And when it is done, it should look like this. You can see that, huh? I think. It should look like this. It's fantastic, and it's perfect for this recipe. So once you have your fajita seasoning, you can gather up the rest of your ingredients and get your omelet made. And all of your ingredients and your measurements are listed in the recipe card at the bottom of the blog post, which is linked down below this video. Excuse me, I have like a little cough today, but you will hear the measurements and stuff as we go through the recipe. So the next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to prepare your steak and get that cooking. And I am going to take you over to the countertop there and, you know, zoom you in on that so that I can show you how to do that. You can use the steak cut of your choice for this recipe. This is a small T-bone steak that I actually have from our first cow that we ever sent to the butcher. I'm not sure where the bone is in here. And I'm just going to take it off the bone. When I did it for the blog post, I didn't take it off the bone. But I can give this bone to my bulldoggy as long as it's not cooked. So I'm going to take it right off the bone. You can choose like a sirloin steak or something that doesn't, you know, have a bone in it. Whatever steak you like is just fine. Let me put this over here for the bulldoggy. But what's most important is that you tenderize your steak. So I'm just going to tenderize this up a little bit. There's all kinds of tenderizers out there. I advise against one of the mallet type that you pound the meat with. They have their own virtues, but they're not great always in home kitchen because they just make a mess. I prefer something like this that has, they're very sharp blades. Very sharp blades. And they just tenderize meat beautifully and quickly. They could potentially be difficult to clean if you're not right on top of taking care of them. I will take this as soon as I'm done with this meat, and I will put it in a bowl of water that's going to cover these blades so that nothing ever has an opportunity to stick to them. Now, once your meat is tenderized, you want to rub it down with fajita seasoning mix. And if you're able to do all of this ahead of time and then put this in the fridge and just let this mix, the seasonings from it, the flavor from it, work its way into the steak, it's particularly good that way. But for the purposes of this video, and quite honestly, most often this is the way I do it because I don't prepare ahead of time, I'm just going to rub this down. You want it to be nice and thick because you're looking for that fajita flavor to come through with your steak and your peppers and onions. So get that nice and thick like that. And then we're going to take this pan, I'm going to put just a little bit of oil in it and let it heat up, and then we'll get that steak cooking in there. In the meantime, let me clean off this knife. Okay, so you need half of a sweet bell pepper. I really don't like using green bell peppers for this recipe. It changes the flavor. You want something a little sweeter. Red, yellow, or orange is better. And you do only want half, so you're going to go ahead and core it, cut it in half, baby pepper in there, and then clean out the inside. And just slice it into thin strips. I mean, not really thin, nice little strips. And your pepper is ready to go. All right, I think this pan is warm enough to get the steak going in here. Put that oil down. And in she goes. And then we're going to take a small yellow onion. Yellow onion is my favorite for this. Just a preference, I guess. I like the way they taste. They can also be a little sweet. And you've got a lot of spice going on in this omelet, so a little bit of sweet is a good thing. Just going to take and peel this. I hope you can see. I feel like I don't have you zoomed in as good as usual. Anyway, I also want this to be in strips. Not quite as wide as the pepper, but pretty close. So that there's a little uniformity. And then we're going to heat up this pan in the back. A little bit of oil. I'm going to throw these peppers and onions right in. And we're going to get some of this fajita seasoning. on the top of those as well. Quite a little bit. And there we go. We've got both of those cooking. I don't know, it's probably going to take 10 or 15 minutes. I'm going to cook my steak to well because that's the way I like it. You can certainly cook your steak any way you like. And I'm going to saute those until they're nice and tender. Not mushy, just nice and tender. And I will get them onto a plate and put them to the side until we're ready to have them to finish our omelet. So I guess I will be back in about 10 or 15 minutes. Okay, you guys, I'm back. I have a pan heating for us to cook the omelet in. And I have the steak and the pepper and onions all cooked up in the fajita seasoning, charred a little bit. We did this one summer evening on the grill outside and it was incredible. If you can prep these and do them on the grill, treat yourself. But right now I'm going to take these 3 eggs and I'm going to bust them into this bowl. And I'm going to scramble them. Now today I am going to put a little bit of milk in these eggs. A lot of people believe that you need to use milk in order to make your omelet fluffy, to make your eggs thick and fluffy. And it does help, it does work, it makes it fluffy. I don't usually do it. I am doing it for this recipe because my experience after 40 years in the restaurant industry is that it's what most people like. I like to have the rich taste of the egg. So I don't usually put milk in it, but it's up to you. You can absolutely do whatever makes you happiest. What I do is I always season my eggs with pepper and garlic. When I'm doing like over medium eggs, just with pepper, but if I'm scrambling, I put pepper and garlic in my eggs. Seasoning in everything is so important. So we're going to scramble these up. Using a whisk helps to put air in the eggs too, and that also helps to fluff them a little. Alright, there we go. This pan should be nice and hot. I'm going to turn it down so it doesn't burn, but I want it to be hot to start. Put a little oil in the center, and then I am going to try to quickly put those eggs right in that oil because that pushes the oil out as the eggs push out and helps to keep your omelet from sticking. Once you have your eggs in the pan, you want to let it cook just a little bit so that you get a foundation on the bottom of your omelet, but not very much because it's going to continue to cook as you work. And the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting some of the steak in here. I'll save a little for on top. So we'll start with that inside, and then let me get a fork. 2 forks. We're going to put some peppers. Usually with omelets, I just throw everything in like a big mess, you know. And I recommend that's how you do it. With this one, because I'm doing it for the camera, I want to have a little bit of everything left over for the top. So I'm being a little bit more particular about how I put it in the omelet. You certainly don't need to do this. That's for sure. But there we go. We're going to get that all spread out in there. Turn that up a little bit more. Okay, so I've let this cook a little bit. I think the underside is actually browning a little bit too much right now. So I'm going to work quickly to get the cheese in here. It's a 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup of cheese, depending on how much you like. I lean a little more toward 1/2 cup. And then I'm going to fold this over that is cooked a little bit too much to give it that great omelet shape. And I'm going to get it out of this pan as quick as I can. Okay. Okay, so not perfect, but pretty good. A little crisp. Actually, I don't mind that. We're going to put a little more cheese on top. I'm going to turn this broiler on. And then we're going to put the rest of the steak. The rest of the peppers and onions. Spread these peppers out to get that pretty color. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it underneath that broiler for just as long as it takes to kind of start to melt that cheese. So probably 1 minute to 3 minutes, probably closer to 1. While that omelet is melting the cheese, I'm going to take some of these chives. These were chives from my garden. And I'm going to chop them up so that we can use them to garnish the top of this omelet. There we go. Okay. So we have a melt starting on the cheese. The stuff that's on the plate there isn't really melting, but there's a melt starting on the cheese, and that's plenty good enough for me. I'm going to take a dollop of sour cream. The sour cream and the salsa are like one of my favorite parts of this recipe. There we go. And we'll get the chives on here. Guys, look at that. That's incredible. Serve it with a side of salsa. Let's make a little room on this dish. There we go. Perfect. I usually, when I make it for dinner, I pair it with, you can't really see that. Hold on a second, I'll show you. When I make it for dinner, I usually pair it with some home fries and toast, but we're going a little bit lighter because it's late in the afternoon and we're probably going to be pushing it to be hungry for dinner. But let me get you away from this counter and back up so you can see this omelet, and we'll try it together, okay? All right, you guys. There it is. Look at that. It looks amazing, for real. That looks really good. I am going to cut it up a little bit so we can try a bite together. All right. I've cut a little bit up over here on the side. I've got the perfect bite. There's steak, there's peppers. I'm gonna get myself a little bit of sour cream, a little bit of salsa. Oh my goodness, this is gonna be so good. Oh yeah. This is gonna be good stuff. Steaming a little. Mmm. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. This is delicious. I hope you're going to make yourself one. Do the grill thing. Summer is coming up. do this steak and the peppers and onions out on the grill. And before you go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell so that you get notified every time that I do a new video. And if you would be kind enough, share my videos on social media so that others see the channel and possibly come in and subscribe themselves, and hit the thumbs up below this video as well. It only takes a second and it lets YouTube know that you like the videos that I'm doing, and then they put them out to more people. It's kind of a big deal for me, and only a second or two for you. I loved having you here with me today, as I always do, and we are going to get together again really soon.